Flaky, buttery, layered, and crisp, but also soft on the inside. Sometimes stuffed with juicy minced meat, sometimes stuffed with potatoes spiced with cumin, mustard seeds, and turmeric. It can be a dessert. Other times it's paired with a hearty, spicy local dish. But wherever it shows up, it's been cherished, loved, and built upon by the local working classes. This is parota.
I want to make some kizzy beef.
In its most basic form, it is flour, salt, water, sugar, and an oily fat that's available in the region. It is kneaded, coiled, laminated, and then cooked on a cast iron tawa. Regions that have easy access to other ingredients like milk and eggs also incorporate milk and eggs into the batter. As an aside, I think eggs are really an overpowered, OP ingredient. I love trying to fit an egg into basically every recipe I'm trying to make. Even if all I have in the fridge after a day's worth of work is a bowl of rice. Some of you already know, runny egg on top, salt and pepper, chili flakes if you have them, or even better, fresh red chili. I typically also take this opportunity to drop in a few glugs of fish sauce. But anyway, eggs act as a great leavening agent as well, adding not only rise but structure. The additional fat from the egg yolks prevent gluten formation in the dough and helps create a lighter and fluffier texture, whereas the lactic acid in good quality milk helps to lower the pH level of the dough entirely, and it enhances its flavor and also increases shelf life. You can visually see the drastic textural differences between recipes that use eggs and milk and those that don't. You can sense the differences when you cook them, when you consume them, and also when you store them. Northern versions of paratha taste and feel different from the southern parota due to these regional changes in the recipe. The type of flour also varies in popularity depending on the region. Whole wheat flour or atta gives the bread a drier texture and a slightly nutty flavor. In other words, it tastes like healthy food. And indeed, it can be lower in calories compared to the southern styles of parota, which tend to be more decadent. Drier regions like Gujarat and Punjab and Rajasthan are perfect for growing atta. However, wetter regions like those in the south that experience higher rates of rainfall tend to grow a lot more rice. Wheat has historically been less common in these regions. Due to these differences, the styles of parota tend to change throughout the Indian subcontinent. The styles of parota that can be found in these regions tend to not use additional baking powder, but other regions around the world that have this variant of style of flatbread have used baking powder in their recipes, like in the bus up shut recipes of Trini and the scallion pancake recipes out of China. Food anthropologists like Kurish Dalal suggest that the recipe traveled to the ports across the Indian subcontinent through Arab traders. And this is very likely what happened. However, throughout the centuries, the ports of India have also had so many touch points with Persian, Chinese, African, Yemeni kingdoms. So it is really hard to pinpoint the exact root of the recipe. However, one thing is consistent. It's typically been introduced in a community through traders and the working class communities that adopt the recipe. The reason why parota, a wheat-based flatbread, is so popular in a rice-growing region like Kerala is not because it's native to Kerala, it's not, but the variation that does exist in the region is a direct reflection of the multicultural syncretic history of the region. rooted entirely in trade and community. According to my dad, an actual Malayali uncle from Fort Kochi, when he was younger, him and his friends used to get parotas only at like small roadside Muslim hawkers near the fisheries along the coast. It was relatively uncommon to get parota at most restaurants at the time. That, of course, is no longer the case, as most family style restaurants these days and hotels will have their own parotas. The popularity of the parota in cities like Kochi is also thanks to legendary restaurants like Ceylon Bakehouse, a restaurant that's been around since the 50s. That restaurant is also where I had my earliest memories of consuming parota and chili chicken and beef curry. As the name suggests, Ceylon Bakehouse has a history rooted in the migration of merchants, mostly Islamic merchants, and indentured workers from Jaffna. Jaffna is a predominantly Tamil region in the north of Sri Lanka. Ceylon is the old colonial name for Sri Lanka, which was also an anglicism of the Portuguese name Silao. A lot of Tamil indentured labor and tea plantation workers from Jaffna have influenced the parota recipes of Kerala and Tamil Nadu. If you know where to look, you can also get Vichu parota, which is a Jaffna-style eggless variant that is paper thin and folded into squares, usually, not all the time. And it is sometimes also stuffed with a curry like chicken curry as well. A great example of the recipe's working class adaptations in Fort Kochi, and I'll give you this example just to give you a taste of how this works in the real world. So in Fort Kochi, there's a local way to order parota at some shops called parota painter, which kind of translates to parota brushed with paint. When local rickshaw drivers and bus drivers want a quick snack that is relatively filling, but they don't want to buy a whole plate of chicken or beef curry, they'd ask the street stalls for some gravy to be brushed on the parota. The shops wouldn't charge extra money for the gravy, and the bus drivers would come back and become regulars over and over again. So that's how that variant of parota was formed, and it's been a thing since my dad was a kid, and it's still around today, which is pretty cool if you think about it. Parota, like chapati, also shows up at a lot of protests in the area. Just this year, a bank manager at Kannara Bank in Kochi tried to ban beef in the branch canteen. The manager happened to be from Bihar in North India, where banning things like beef is common in Modi's Hindu nationalist India. However, in Kerala, the Hindus also tend to eat beef, so no one at the bank was going to stand for this very obvious Hindu nationalist imposition and overreach. So they protested while eating parota and beef as a form of cultural resistance. You can see how this food is more than just sustenance. That's how much people in the south care about parota and beef. Due to the aforementioned migrations and the recipe interacting with local traditions, lifestyles, and ingredients, it allows room for the creation of new cultural touchpoints. If you're watching from Trini, you're thinking of the recipe I mentioned before, which is the bus up shut, developed by indentured laborers and the black and brown communities in the area. Bus up shut, by the way, is derived from busted up shirt because the dish looks like a busted up shirt. And people have probably already commented this. You're thinking
Being on the Chennai.
From your closest mamak stall. Mamak stalls are street stalls usually run by Tamil Muslim uncles. Mamak is derived from the Tamil word for uncle mama. If you're in Shanghai, you might be thinking scallion pancakes. And there are other regions as well that have similar dough styles to the North Indian styles of paratha. Like in my research, I noticed the Armenian Zingilov hats, which is a scallion stuffed flatbread, although it's not coiled like the paratha, but the recipe seems very similar. And if you're Kurdish, you might be thinking of kalane. The similarities between these recipes in this region in Asia is well worth noting. There have been some comparisons made in some of the material I've read on the history of this recipe to Borek as well. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but now I know that with the way border-based nationalisms and things like this work, there'll be a lot of arguments in the comments. I hope not, but they will be about who did it first and whose is best and whatever. But I'm not interested in all of that, because this for me is the beauty of this thing we call parota. It moves through communities and cultures, adapting and taking on attributes of the new regions where people continue to make it and develop it. In that way, it has this very human character of adaptability, which I love. And for me, even though I'm from Kerala, and parota and beef is such a closely linked part of like Kerala culture, like it still doesn't have this gatekeepy nationalistic nature that is imposed upon a lot of foods around the world. Like there is no superior parota, for me at least. We have options and they are different for different purposes. You can make it vegan if you want entirely. You can make it low calorie. You can also make it hearty enough so that its structure keeps while being baked with a spicy, velvety beef curry enveloped in a banana leaf. It can be low cost and utilitarian if you need it to be, but also delicious, decadent, and just joyful. This is why, to me, it is the legendary flatbread.